God, I miss the North Country, no power lines, no dead-end streets. Mother Nature waits for me back in the North Country.
Hello, and thanks for coming along on another Northwoods Ramble. I'm Sealy Dave, coming to you once again from my little log cabin office at the base of the Hollywood Hills, just outside bustling downtown Sealy, Wisconsin. Sealy's nestled in the Sawyer County Forest, just on the edge of the Chequamegon National Forest, and we're surrounded by hundreds of miles of world-class Nordic ski trails and mountain bike trails, along with countless miles of gravel roads, logging roads, forest roads, and so it's really a outdoor enthusiast paradise. And this podcast is mostly focused on the silent sports crowd and mostly on cycling. So Sealy is also the home to the Lenroot Lodge. So if you're looking to come up and visit, a great place to try to stay is the Lenroot Lodge, which is located right on the banks of the wild Namakagon River. Check-in for the Lenroot Lodge is over at the Sawmill Saloon right next door. They're owned by the same owner, Cindy Ferraro. She's a good friend of ours, and we can highly recommend the place as a place to stay. It's super cool. It's an old schoolhouse and town hall that have been modified to turn into renovated to turn into a very cool hotel. The rooms, I think there are only 10 rooms there, but they're 2 stories, and they've got like old blackboards in them and stuff left over from the school rooms. It's pretty neat. So check-in, as I said, is over at the Sawmill Saloon, or the Saloon of Bad Decisions, as my wife likes to remind me, if I've had one too many rye old-fashioned press cocktails but my indiscretions on a Friday fish fry aside, it's a great place to go. And the big night, though, is probably not fish fry night. It's probably Saturday night for their prime rib. And that's when all the locals come in for dinner, and all the visitors from around come in for the prime rib, and the local bachelor loggers, clean themselves up. They brush the pine needles out of their beards, put on their best flannel, and slick their hair back with bar oil in the hopes of a little conversation and companionship that night. And the single local ladies coming in know before they even walk through the door that their odds may be good, but the goods may be odd. So either way, I think that's probably a nicer way for people to meet than swiping left or right on your phone. So check out the Sawmill next time you're up. I'm doing something a little bit different this episode. I'm going to try to have a few notes, a la sort of like old newscasters. I don't yet have a teleprompter. I'm trying to work on that, but I've already got a lot of buttons to push, so I'm not sure I could manage that if I had one. But I've found that in the previous shows I've sort of forgotten some things that I meant to say, so I'm going to try to have some notes with me and to keep me on track. So anyway, as we move through our show later on in the show, our special guest is Josh Rizzo. Josh has been on the show before. He's a pal of mine from Eau Claire. He runs the north.com website. That's nxrth.com. It's a website devoted to gravel riding, fat biking, and bike packing. And he's got a whole bunch of routes and a great event calendar. We're going to be talking about that a little bit with Josh later in the show. Our interview with Josh is also done outside at the new home base lodging at Mount Telemark. That's a new hostel style lodging designed with sort of silent sports enthusiasts in mind. And so we do the show out there where Josh is staying with his 7-year-old son, Rowan, for the weekend. So we record it out there, and we'll give you a little idea of what that place is like, as well as go through, we're nearing October, so we're going to go through the final events of gravel season that he's got listed on his calendar. So stick around for that interview with Josh. Before we do that, though, I'd have to say that once again, we don't have TJ on the show. He's must be hard at work with Rock Solid, trying to crank out some more trail miles on the new Trek trails powered by OTM that they're building at Telemark. I have been out there and taken a peek because it's right behind home base. So I've taken a peek at some of the new stuff, and boy, they've got like 10, 15-foot berms. They're really dialed. The lips are razor sharp now, as you'd expect from brand new purpose-built trails. Rock Solid has 2 crews out there, so they're working really hard, and I'm sure TJ's probably been super busy just trying to get in as many miles of trails as they can get built before the snow falls. I had heard that Tracy Paradise, the executive director from One Track Mind Foundation that donated a bunch of the money for those trails, was up here this last weekend, and TJ was giving her a tour of those. So I am hoping that we'll get TJ maybe on the next show and he can give us a more in-depth update on how things are going over there. But Josh and I both took a look at the trails, and he's not a big mountain biker, but even he was like saying, holy cow, that looks so cool. I really want to try that. So really looking forward to a new update from TJ and for those trails to open up officially. So with that, like I said, stick around for that interview with Josh later in the show. But now it's time for your Hyperborean report on Life Above 8. And so I thought I'd start with a little bit of weather, and we have been enjoying an amazingly beautiful fall so far this year. The bugs are down to almost nil, and the colors are near peak right now. So it's a great time to come up and visit. Our temperatures, we've had a warm up recently. Our temperatures jumped up into like the low 80s recently. So my wife Liz and I have sort of reinstituted our summer tradition of a happy hour swim at the wonderful Silverthorne Lake Park that's right nearby here in Sealy. This last time we went, a buddy of ours, Tom Thornquist. Some of you may know him. He's an avid cyclist, been around racing and stuff around here in the Twin Cities for a long time. He joined us with his big Newfie Juno, and we all had a nice swim. The water is chilly, but it's plenty warm for swimming still, and then the 80-degree weather and the sunshine warms you up pretty quickly when you pop out and onto the beach at Silverthorne Park. So that was great. A bunch of other folks took advantage of the warm weather there. We saw, of note, I saw Donovan Dooms of the Natural Log Home Company. If you go through Sealy, the other side of the road is Vortan's Lumber, and then there's the Natural Log Home Company where they build log homes. And the Dooms family, D-U-M-S, the Dooms family, Donovan and his dad, Dan, were kind enough to come over and remove a 75-foot red pine that I had felled. It was growing next to our house. It was nearing its final days in life, and is leaning over our house. And, you know, those red pines have the whorls that eventually they sort of self-prune themselves, but we had 20-foot branches sticking out over our house, right over our living room and stuff that if one of those fell from 50 feet, it would probably punch a hole right through our ceiling and end up right in front of our television. So I had been worried about that tree since we moved in here. It was leaning towards our house, much too big. I don't mind taking trees down in the woods when I can't hurt any structures or myself too much, but this was too much for me, too big a tree for me, and too big a tree for TJ, who's also taken down hundreds of trees. He does that for the Berkey all the time. He was a hotshot, did it out west fighting forest fires. Neither of us felt comfortable taking this one down. Luckily, it's really difficult. All the tree service guys are super busy up here. It's really difficult getting one to come to your house. Luckily, I had a connection from my deer hunting camp in Butternut, just north of Park Falls. And one of the guys that I hunt with had a business that he just closed. He died, unfortunately, of a terrible bout with cancer. It was very, very sad, but Buck, we miss you. But anyway, when Buck's business closed, some of his landscaping guys went over to Boomtown Tree Service. And so I had a connection there. And although they're from Park Falls, they do a lot of work up by Lake Owen. And so they always have crews up there. So Wayne from Boomtown was kind enough to pop over and fell this tree. His wife, he roped it from the top with a giant slingshot and a big arborist rope, and his wife pulled it with their Super Duty and took the lean out of it, and he dropped it exactly where he wanted to put it. I swear the guy could hit a pop can with a tree. So if you're looking for tree service, they are busy. But the way it worked for me was I said, hey, anytime you got a rain day or something when you can't do work with your crews up there and you got a spare moment, just pop over here. And he was able to come over on an instance like that and just took the tree down in short order. And then, and like I said, I talked to Donovan Dooms from Natural Log Home Company, and him and his dad came out with their logging truck and they bucked it up into long pieces that they can use to build homes out of, and they skidded it out of here for me. So I've now only got 5 other trees that worry me, but that was the worst. So anyway, thanks to the Dooms family, thanks to Donovan, thanks to Dan for taking that. That's been a huge worry off my shoulders here in the Northwoods and Sealy. So, yeah. So like I said, they're always working. It's Boomtown Tree Service out of Park Falls, and they're often working up by Lake Owen, just north of Cable. So they have crews in the area. So if you're a Sealy area, a Cable area person, need some trees down, they come highly recommended. And speaking of Cable, our cozy little town to the north of Sealy just had their Fall Fest, and everybody agreed with the warm weather. It was the warmest Fall Fest that we could remember. Last year, I was in charge of keeping the fire pits going, and this year, I don't think anybody was standing by the fire pits, and nobody even asked me to help with them. So that was really nice to have a warm Fall Fest. It was super packed on Saturday. Friday night, though, they had the bakery judging, the dessert judging competition, which is a favorite of mine. And although I didn't get to try any, I was really tempted by some drool-worthy desserts. I'm just going to read a couple of them. So the winner of the most creative dessert for the adult competition was Leah Yeager for her pumpkin latte tiramisu. Come on. How does that sound? Not delicious or what? And then Bunky Miller, a lot of people from the area and from Wheel and Sprocket know Bunky. Bunky won most delicious with her cranberry maple pecan tart. And in the most creative kids dessert competition, Jasmine Bjork won with some very tasty looking pumpkin whoopie pies. Who doesn't still love a whoopie pie? And Wyatt Frey won most delicious with his apple pie. So that was pretty cool. And the Cable Lions also were up there, served a tasty fish fry along with some great Oktoberfest beer from Angry Minnow in Hayward. So Fall Fest was a huge success by all points. I can't think of anything other than that. Oh, there was a car show too. Yeah, and there was a bunch of cool cars out there. It was just jam-packed on Saturday. So anyway, in other Cable news, the Portage Bar, the smallest bar in Cable, is now serving their Oktoberfest menu. So along with a few Oktoberfest beers on tap, the chef is also cooking up some delicious Bavarian-style food. And my wife can attest to the deliciousness of the Sauerbraten that with the side of Spätzle. She had that. I had their Reuben. And so stop by the Portage for that special menu, which they'll be serving for a while. Under riding conditions, most of you probably want to know about riding conditions. So as I said, the weather's absolutely gorgeous. The forest is near peak colors. The trees are still on the leaves, but lots of them are falling. So the trails can be slippery. The mountain bike trails can be slippery with those leaves. Take note of that, especially if it's damp out with the morning dew. My riding's been mostly focused on riding reconnaissance for the route of the Tour de Schwamigen, which is this upcoming weekend. I always have to ride that right before the event because it's 103 miles this year, the course is. I change it a little bit each year. But I always have to ride it like the week or two before because trees fall, conditions change, bridges go out, culverts get washed out. You never know what could happen right before an event with a course that long over such a wide area. So I went out and I rode it over the course of 2 days and everything was dialed. So the course is going to be pretty good. And thank you, federal government, for staying in business because they were going to close down the campgrounds and take the handles off the well pumps. And we were scratching scratching our heads about what we were going to do about water. But thank you for staying in business, federal government, with your funding bill. So let's see, what else have I got on my notes here? Oh yeah, what else I've been doing? I've been working on converting my former urban utility bike, my Yuba Sweet Curry, which I had added a Bafang mid-drive to, and I used it heavily for urban utility trips, grocery shopping, stuff like that in the city when I lived there. And although it's handy to go to the sawmill or to Silverthorne Park or something up here, it really was pretty limited with the slick tires on it. So I've been converting it more to a Northwoods ready UTV first I added a Ren carbon fat bike fork that I got a sweet deal on from Greg at Everyday Cycles, and I have fat bike tires and rims and stuff laying around. So I put on a Surly Larry front 3.8 on the front. And then I got a Kenda Booster Pro 2.25 for the rear tire. I can't fit a fat tire on the rear yet, but I'm working on trying to figure out how I can do that. But that really made a huge difference on the gravel roads with that bike. So I also been trying to convert the tail end to allow it to to use it for, I'm going to switch to my camera 2 and join you picture in a picture. So this is it. So I converted. So I'm trying to use it for dog packing too. So, and bring Cowboy along on the back. I'm not sure he's sold on the idea of dog packing yet, but the bike is really handy for, now I can use it for gravel road riding. I can take my chainsaws out and clear trails with it. I quickly swapped though. The Ren fork was a great addition, but I happen to notice I got a feed, something on my Facebook feed. You know how the world is listening to everything you do. That Hayes was blowing out their Mastodon Pro, their Manitou Mastodon Pro limited edition camo fat bike suspension fork. So you can see that on the bike here. So it was such a great deal. It was like half price. So I couldn't pass that up and got one of those for this picture's got the that I'm showing now. It has the Ren fork, and you see Cowboy sitting on the back before we took a little test bike ride. Like I said, I'm testing him out on his dog packing, how he likes to do that. We haven't gone overnight yet dog packing, but I've just been taking him on day trips to see how he does. He can sit on the back for the long, fast sections, and he hops off and runs up the hills and stuff like that. But he's 8, so he can't run like 20, 30 miles like he used to. He's sort of down to like 5 to 10 miles is about as much as he wants to do before he gets too sore. So I'm trying to figure out if this will work or not. Jury's still out. Cowboy's jury is still out anyway. But the improvements for utility for me are amazing. So and the front suspension, although the Ren fork was sweet and really did absorb a lot of the bumps, I have to say the Manitou Mastodon Pro is just bomber. So it really allows me to go faster on the downhills with all the washboard. Like any sort of suspension fork, it allows you to be a little less careful when you're picking your line. Here you can see 2 vehicles in full beast mode, my Yuba Sweet Curry, and so it has the e-assist on it. If I do convert it to full dog packing bike, I think I'll take the assist off, and just so I don't have to worry about battery stuff. But because I can only right now, even with the extra batteries, do I have the extra? Yeah, you can see in this image, I've got the original little 11.5 amp hour Shark battery on it, and then I've got a custom battery pack in that orange case that Peter D'Antonio Milwaukee built for me. That's about 1,000 watt hours or a full kilowatt hour of power there. Between the two, I can probably ride, keeping the thing sort of down near the eco mode, not blasting around too fast, just using it mostly for powering myself uphill with Cowboy on the back or something. I can probably run about 65 miles or so. Maybe I could get 80 in, depending. I don't use it on the downhills. I just turn the whole thing off, and I don't really use it on the flats. I turn it off unless I'm starting to get tired with the weight of Cowboy on the back. He weighs 45 pounds. The bike with all the batteries weighs about 90 pounds. But if I took the assist off and if I took that front basket off, I think the bike weighs in at about 42 pounds total. So that's a reasonable weight just to ride unassisted for a bikepacking bike. Still putting a 45-pound dog on the back does add weight. But so anyway, that's what I've been working on other than riding the Tour de Schwamingen route. I'm also wanted to remind folks that let's see, that's Tour de Schwamingen. That was me over by Patsy. I'm still in the video mode. I'm showing a few more slides for those of you that are just listening. This is the Glacier Trail or over by Patsy Lake or Rock Lake Trail over by Patsy Lake just before you pop out onto Lost Land Lake Road, which is on the Tour de Schwamingen route. And you can see the fall colors are in pretty great condition. This is a little bit further north. The slide I'm showing now kind of up near the western edge of the township of Shanagolden before we get into Clam Lake. So that's what I've been doing. That's what this weekend is. Next weekend, we talk a little bit more about this with Josh, but next weekend is the Iron Bull. I just showed the Iron Bull slide here. I'll put that up one more time. And so Iron Bull is next weekend, October 14th. There are routes I will be there. So I'll be recording podcasts there. I hope somewhere near the finish, probably somewhere near wherever they're serving Red Eye's new beer release. So if you're over by wherever Red Eye's beer is being given out, look for me and come do a post-race report with me. I'm just getting a new podcast, new wireless microphone system that allows me to hook up 3 other mics wireless in addition to a mic for me. So 4 wireless mics. The Rode Wireless Go system that I have right now is only me and 1 other mic. It's 2 mic system. So it's hard for me to interview like a handful of riders using that. So I'm getting this new mic system and I'm going to have that set up at the Red Bull and we'll try to do some post-race interviews with people. So look for me over at Wausau, not this weekend, but the weekend of the October 14th for the Iron Bull Red Granite Grinder. And come talk to me. Come ramble along with me. So anyway, with that, I think we're going to go jump back to our interview with Josh and out at Home Base Lodging. And thanks for coming along. Please stick around for the chat with Josh, okay? Sealy Dave out till our interview shows up.
God, I miss the North Country, no power lines, no dead-end streets. Mother Nature waits for me back in the North Country.
All right, hey Josh, thanks for coming along on another Northwoods Ramble.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave.
Good to have you up in cable again.
Yes, beautiful morning here.
Here
at home base. So I'm here at home base with my 7-year-old son this weekend. Home base is a brand new lodging. I think it just opened about a month ago, but we are right at the base of Mount Telmark and a bunch of new trail development that's going in. So we're kind of checking it out for the first time.
And what are the rooms like here? I've been in one, but
yeah.
For our viewers.
Yeah, the rooms are really nice. It's like a hotel room, except there's 2 sets of bunks. And then there's bike storage in the rooms with a drain at the bottom. So in the winter, when you come here with your fat bike, you can bring it right in the room.
Or skis too. Yeah, skiing.
Or skis. Yep. There's high-speed internet. A little kitchenette area, bathroom and showers.
But it's sort of hostel style. It's kind of like a hostel with your own bathroom because you've got your own bathroom right inside your room, right?
Yeah.
So you bring your own bedding or sleeping bag or whatever.
Bring your own bedding, exactly. That kind of thing, yep.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about this place is it's really built around this community feeling. So when you get here, it's really cool because the rooms are kind of tucked together, and then there's this area we are right here with this on-demand fire, and then there's 2 more fire pits kind of behind in the woods as well. So it's a great place to hang out with the group or meet people who are here together biking and skiing for the weekend. There's a bike repair station, there's a bike cleaning station.
A big, large community screened-in
A large
porch.
community screened-in porch, which will be really nice in the middle of summer when mosquitoes are thick. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think talking to Dave and Rhonda Torek when I've been watching this project, since they broke ground on it, but they've been thinking about this for a long time, or at least Dave certainly has.
Yeah.
And Dave built it all himself. I know Torek Construction's been around for like 30 some years.
Okay.
He's built a lot of really, really cool places, and he's had this in mind for a long time. And I think you really hit on that community. So I think of it as like a bike advocate. I think of this as trailside lodging. That's what I think of it as first, because the Berkey Trail's right there, the new Trek trails powered by OTM, the new downhill gravity trails are right behind this place. So I think of it as trailside lodging, and Dave placed it here for that, but he really had this community theme of a place where like we can sort of all gather with our friends and make new friends with like-minded people who are here for silent sports. And you need a really nice, comfortable place to stay at night. But you're not in that room very much.
Right.
So it basically just needs to have, quality but minimal comforts. And then storage for gear, which he thoughtfully put in. Also out here, you can't see it on camera, but we have, I'm looking at 3 park bike repair stands, a bike wash station, a lean-to sort of shed area where, although you can put your bikes inside, there's also a place to wrench on them outside if you need to, or to just, if you got a bunch of bikes and you don't want to put them in your room or something, you can just leave them out here.
Yeah, so he really thought through all the details. The location is incredible. It is ski, I'm sorry, you can bike out, you can ski out. The trails are right here, so it's pretty cool.
Exactly. I'm gonna shut my phone off. So there are, like I said, the Trek trails that Berkey's building, which connect to the 130-mile network of amazing Canva single track. And then the Berkey Trail is right out your door. So Nordic skiing is right here. The new roller ski, we went on that a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, Dave, you took me on the roller ski trail. It's a really pretty trail.
Paved.
It's paved. It winds through the hills and the trees. It's rolly. I imagine it is really fast on the roller skis. But it was really great for me and my son. He's 7, and it was a nice, accessible trail for us to ride through calmly together.
And the new trails that the Berkey is building at Telemark Village. Telemark Mountain, the Trek Trails powered by OTM One Track Mind that's the other major foundation that donated to the trails, and those trails are modern flow trails, but they're built in a progressive loop system very thoughtfully, so that if you're riding a green trail with your kid, it's green the entire way. There isn't that oops, there's a 10-foot rock garden or there's a 1-foot drop and sometimes that one thing, if you're riding at people at different skill levels, even if the 98% of the rest of the trail is green and they hit one thing that scares them, that's what sticks in their mind, I think, after they rode the trail. And they're like, I don't know, I'm not trying.
Too hard. Right.
And then also the blue trails. So my wife is very much a green rider. We both have full suspension bikes, but she mostly prefers green, non-scary trails, but likes them to be fun and flowy and cool. And so the new trails that we've ridden here are like that, but the blue trails, which actually are a little bit even beyond my skill level in terms of how fast I can take jumps and stuff. I can go over most of the features on the blue trails, but I don't use them like they were designed to. So I can ride with my buddies who will send it off every little bump. And I can also ride with my wife, and she does an around on all the blue trails.
That's cool.
So that progressive design, I think, is, and then they're also building black, which will probably have gap jumps that maybe are unavoidable and stuff like that. So I think this location is an ideal location for that. And then in addition to that, under construction right behind us, the American Birkebinder Ski Foundation is building a new Nordic center there that will be similar to the Nordic Center at Double O Trailhead, the Samuel Johnson building at Double O.
I haven't been
so
there.
A big building with central areas for gathering, a couple of, I think some small, I haven't seen the designs, but I've heard talk it's going to have a couple of small, some conference room type things.
Okay.
And then also a bike shop, bike rental. And then I think there's going to be one of those places will have beer and food and snacks.
I thought I saw a
and
tap
stuff
room
like
on the.
that. Yeah.
Cool.
So that will be right behind home base as well. So I guess
there's a lot happening here.
there is.
Yeah.
And Dave said that he built this with the idea that if market force, so now there's 10 rooms.
10 rooms.
Which each sleep 5 people possibly.
Up to 5.
Up to 5. So Dave said he's going to, if this takes off and the demand exists, he's leased enough land here that he can build another one or
That's
maybe
cool.
maybe 2 more.
That's really
if
cool.
that happens. So.
Yeah. Well, it's fun to see the energy up here. My son and I hiked up to the new lookout
Oh, did you?
tower
Oh, cool.
last night at
Yeah.
the top of the hill, which was a fun, beautiful hike. We could see the colors. It was really pretty. But it was so cool to see all the trails develop. I'm not a big mountain biker. I like to do it a little bit, but those looked so much fun.
Yeah.
We kind of walked up around some of the berms, and it looked really cool, really thoughtfully designed.
So
And it's fun
rock
to see this
solid,
energy come
rock
together.
solid. You know, Aaron Rodgers and rock solid. The guy behind Copper Harbor, behind lots of the Duluth trails, behind Bentonville. It's 2 crews from Rock Solid building it, and
Okay.
and Aaron Rodgers is actually, he lives in Copper Harbor now, but he's actually from somewhere around here. I can't remember if it's Birchwood or Stone Lake or somewhere nearby. So he has taken a personal interest in the same way he kind of did for Copper Harbor. He's taken a sort of a personal interest
cool.
in this. And then Josh Bloom has also been involved. He works for Rock Solid now too. So folks, and the mountain biking podcast world will know Josh Bloom from Trail Effect. He also was a builder. He had his own private building down in La Crosse. So Josh has been here to help design the trails as well. So some pretty big minds in terms of mountain bike world are behind those trails, and I think the locals are all pretty stoked to add that parking lot vibe to our already amazing Canva backcountry experience that we have with Canva. So for those that haven't ridden, for the few probably people listening that haven't ever ridden the Canva trails, Canva has about 130 miles of kind of linear trails through the forest, through the Schwamigan Forest and the Bayfield and Sawyer County Forest, and they're really give you that backcountry experience that I'm not sure you exist almost anywhere else.
Not in our region.
I mean, the UP kind of has some of that.
Yeah.
But it also, in the races that they put together, but their trail networks don't feel like I don't really feel like I can get lost when I'm, you know.
Well, that's funny. You were talking about this concept a couple podcasts ago about what makes the Canva trails unique and how it doesn't have that parking lot vibe. And it's cool that now there will be that parking lot vibe in addition to this sprawling
So we're
trail.
not losing anything, we're just gaining.
Yeah.
You can still have that. I just want to be away in nature and have Rocky Rudy, you know.
can get way out there.
Yeah, trails where you've got no cell service and you can, you know, if you aren't careful, you can get lost if you're not paying attention. So we still have that, but now we'll have this trail network with gravity runs and also a loop that hosts, you know, capable of hosting races, and NICA races are already being hosted up here. So we'll have that loop cross country, you know, trail network, and then the stuff that you can just session over and over again. And then when you finish on a Tuesday night, you know, my buddies are always in the parking lot and I'm going to run into somebody that, you know, whereas like riding out on the Canva trails, like if you see somebody, it's just happenstance. You're not, you know, you don't have that sort of like I go every Thursday night and here's who I always run into vibe, you know, you'll have that here. So I'm pretty stoked for it.
That's cool. I'm excited too.
Yeah. Our typical podcast co-host, my co-conspirator TJ, is one of the guys in charge of overseeing that construction. I think he's here with Tracy Paradise is here this weekend. She is the executive director of One Track Mind Foundation, which was a major donor along with Trek. So I think TJ's with Tracy. He's not been on my podcast for a while, but he's been super busy. And he, like you, has kid and stuff like that. So, so I'm super happy to have you as a guest on this.
Fun to be up here.
This show. Yeah. I did also want to, while you're here this weekend, I wanted to say that we're going to try to do. So those that don't know, Josh has the website.
The North. Thenorth.com.
With an X.
With an X for the O.
Yeah. Thenorth.com. And you have great calendars on that. So talk a little bit about your website, because we're going to have a special, I think I'm going to have a special segment each podcast where we go over some of the things on the events on your calendar.
Yeah, so thenorth.com covers gravel biking, fat biking, and bike packing. And we really exist to serve two purposes. One is to connect bikers with great experiences, and the other is to give bikers planning resources. So Dave is referring to a couple calendars. We've got a handful of calendars. We have a gravel bike event calendar. We have a fat bike event calendar. We just added a global fat bike winter ultra calendar for those who want to do winter ultras and want to see where they are all over the world. But the gravel calendar and the fat bike calendar are for our region. So it's a hand-assembled calendar. You know, there's a lot of calendars around the web that just automatically pull events from other places in the web, and they're rarely very accurate and they're never complete. We try really hard to have every single gravel event in our region, every single fat bike event in the region, hand added, hand vetted to make sure they're accurate and complete. And so we're kind of winding down on gravel season. We're in the fall here. There's probably, I don't know, 10 or so events left on the fall calendar. And then the winter calendar is ready to go, and that's kind of queued up, and we'll transition into the fat
Yeah, we
season.
are nearing the end of the gravel. So I have in mind, top of mind for me, two events. Our next weekend is the Tour de Schwamigan. That's I think our 7th or 8th year doing that guided 3-day bikepacking tour, and the government did not shut down, so we were worried about the government shutdown. I talked to the Great Divide Ranger District, and they said if the government shuts down, we're going to take the handles off all the wells. We're going to leave the campgrounds open, but you won't have water.
Because you're staying at public campgrounds.
Right, yeah, at the National Forest campgrounds. So I was worried about that, but our government actually worked and did its job, and so we'll have water. So that's going on next weekend. Then the weekend after that, I'm going to Wausau, and I think I'm going to bring this podcast to Wausau. I'm going to try to do a remote system like this without all the boards and stuff. And I'm actually even looking at buying a new 4-mic wireless system. Because these Rode wireless mics that we're using now, they're limited to 2. So there can only be me
and one guest
and one other guest. So there's another manufacturer that has gotten fairly good reviews that allows 4 wireless mics to plug into one camera.
There you go. You can have the party vibe on the podcast.
Right. So we're talking about doing at the finish of the Red Granite Grinder in Wausau, which is an Iron Bowl event. I'm going to be there. I'm going to take photographs, and I'm going to. There's also a women's bike clinic that Laura Wiseman Rubish is running. I don't think that's sold out, and I don't think the Red Granite Grinder, I think the registration is still open. So anybody wants to sign up, there is a 144 mile distance, but and they have tried to make this event have a bunch of like mandatory hike-a-bike stuff on a gravel. So it has some of that feel of like, Todd Poquette's like extreme events up north, but not quite as extreme. And they're more shorter family-friendly versions of events. So check out the Red Granite Grinder. If you're going to be there, look for me somewhere near the end. I'll probably be close to wherever Red Eye Brewing has their new beer release. And I'm going to try to set up our mobile podcast there. But so I don't think we've figured out. We'll have to figure out exactly how we do this update on the gravel and the fat bike races later on.
Kind of a calendar check-in.
I think a calendar check-in. We'll figure out what we're going to call it. But for now, since we're outside, I just brought my phone, and I'm looking at your calendar for the rest of October for events. And
I think Heck of the North is yesterday. Was Heck of the North yesterday?
It must have been, because I don't see it. Yeah, Heck of the North was yesterday.
That was yesterday.
So that's not on here, and that's a big one. Obviously, Jeremy Kershaw's event up up in Two Harbors.
Yep, Two Harbors.
Yeah.
Yep.
So first thing up for next weekend is the Gray Duck Grit in Northfield.
Yep.
So
Gray
that's
Duck
the
Grit.
Northfield guys.
Yep, and I think it's just their second year.
And it's kind of a, this looks like a big one. So it's an 111 mile, a 222 mile, and a 333 mile.
Yeah, those are
course.
some big routes. Yeah,
And
but
they
Northfield
sound
has
like
such
they're
a
hilly.
beautiful area, great gravel, really cool gravel community around the Northfield area, and that event seems to be picking up a lot of steam.
Yeah, those Northfield guys seem to really have a good connection with the Twin Cities crowd and stuff like
Yep.
that. Then next is the Tour de Schwamigen, which is sold out. That's a 106 mile, 3-day guided bikepacking trip that I run. Then the Hibernator 100 is October 7th. That's Sunday or Saturday, next Saturday, and that's in Laona. Of course, the famous, the
Bear 100
the
is
Bear
there.
100,
Yep.
and the Hibernator 100, which raise money for the Laona Fire Department, volunteer fire department, and I think their rescue as well.
Yep.
Then Iron Mountain, Lone Wolf, is
Wolf.
Sunday the 8th.
Yeah, that's one I really want to get to. The pictures last year just were so beautiful. Such a cool place for the fall.
I love Iron Mountain. The home of, like, right across
Kingsford, I think, is right
Kingsford
there.
or
Kingston.
Kingston. It's where there was a Ford plant and where charcoal briquettes where the Kingsford charcoal was invented.
Oh, wow.
By
Okay.
Henry Ford.
Okay.
There's also a bunch of cool mining stuff up there
Yeah.
in Iron Mountain. So Lone Wolf and Cold Iron Brewing is up there. So that's a great one.
Yep, UP Sport and Spoke, I think, helps put that one
Right.
on. Yep, cool event.
We'll have to.
Yep.
We'll link to all this stuff
Sure.
in the show notes of the page. But
Weekend after that, I think, is the Filthy 50. And
Yes.
that is their 10th annual Filthy 50.
that's the same weekend as the Red Granite Grinder,
Okay.
the Filthy 50,
Yep.
and the Southern Wisconsin Off-Road Bicycle Ride, which is in Middleton, which is kind of like on private farm
Okay,
roads.
that one I think was just added to the calendar like 2 days ago.
Was
so
it?
I don't really know
It's
anything
been going
about
on
that
for a
one.
while. I've known the guy.
Okay.
He's got access to a bunch of cool, farm roads and stuff
Sure.
like that on private farm property, a bunch of
Okay.
acreage out there.
Sure.
And it's close to Madison, so I
Yeah.
think it's a cool event. But
Yep.
but yeah, I think the biggies for next weekend are probably the 14th, both on the 14th, the Red Granite Grinder in Wausau, and then the Filthy 50 in Lanesboro.
Yeah.
So where is Lanesboro relative to Northfield?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's either straight south.
I'm gonna look.
I don't exactly know. It's
I'm gonna
further
look.
south.
Direction.
It is heart of the Driftless area,
Oh
exceptionally
yeah, it's
beautiful.
further south.
You start and end in this just really kind of cute downtown area with some great B&Bs, some great cafes. There's a brewery right downtown. Awesome route, 1,000 people, huge event. Like I said, it's the 10th year. And then my favorite spot there is about the halfway point. There's this Amish farm you stop at. And there are, I can't remember what they call them, but there are these kind of like a pastry with a filling in them with a bunch of different flavors. And it was exactly what I needed after a whole bunch of climbing last year. So my wife
Okay,
and I
so
are going
Lanesboro is, I just looked, Lanesboro is straight west, basically, from La Crosse.
straight west.
And
like I said.
Northfield is aptly further north.
Yeah.
So Northfield is kind of like more up around north of the Twin Cities area.
Cool. Yeah. Yep. So it'll be my wife's first Filthy 50. We're going to do that together and hope for some good weather. It can kind of go either way at that time of year. You get deeper into the fall and it can be beautiful with colors, or it can be snowing.
Last winter,
freezing.
that weekend last winter was my wife and I did a combined 60th anniversary party at the Sawmill and had my brother's band, the Waco Brothers, came up and played with a bunch of other friends of ours who are musicians as well.
Nice.
And it snowed. We got 6 inches of snow the middle weekend in October.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, it's supposed to be like close to 80 degrees today.
Okay.
It's sunny. I'm hoping, I love winter. I love fat biking. I love skiing and snowshoeing, all that stuff. But I'm really hoping for a little bit more fall this year.
You had a lot of winter last
Yeah,
year.
we did. We had 100 inches of snow and 6 solid months of skiing weather. So I'm sort of hoping we get fall goes into November a little bit
little more
longer.
fall. Yeah, it's a warm day here. I'm getting the double threat. The fire
Yeah, I
is
know, I
quite
think-
warm, and the sun is over here. I'm toasty.
Yeah, I think we can probably turn these off. So these fire pits are propane, and they just turn on, and there's a timer. And they're. At first, I was like, yeah, I got 8 cords of firewood that I cut at home every year. You know, like and I do it all with a maul, and you know, I don't use a power splitter, and so I'm kind of an old school fire guy. You know, wood. But
wood has more
this
heart.
is pretty darn handy.
It's pretty nice to have heat when you want it. They are very warm. There's 3 of them. So the cool thing is this one, all 10 rooms are facing this kind of courtyard area with the fire. This is a really family oriented area. And then if the adults want to kind of have their own spaces, there's 2 more on the back sides, kind of in the trees.
Right.
So Dave was kind of talking about how this is a little more the family area, and then back there, the adults can have their fires, and it's pretty cool.
Or just kind of like the community, the central area.
The central area.
Because you've got the little shelter here, you've got, so like everybody can gather around this one. If you're having a big group, stay here. This place, I'm sure it's going to get busy and it'll be hard to book. But for those who, I talk about this in a Silent Sports story I just wrote about lodging in the area. When we have a little Airbnb in Sealy, and when we took over that, my friends who all ski the Berkey and race Schwamingen Mountain Bike Festival and all that sort of stuff now got ours. But people had a tradition there. We had to boot regulars out that the previous owners were like, they contacted us and like, hey, we always stay at here.
We get this
and I'm
every
like,
year.
can we book our places for next year? And I'm like, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to find a new tradition of where you stay, because my friends, this is their new tradition. So I just wanted to suggest to viewers, if you don't have a place, a regular tradition of where you stay for large events, now would be the time to like contact the owners. You don't always get to, like our Airbnb is the booking, you can't book 8 months out or a year out.
This one books 6
but you
months
can
out.
contact us.
Sure.
And we will
hold
it for you and book it. So, and I think Dave and Rhonda would allow the same thing. So if you had a group of say 20 people or 12 people that wanted to book 3 rooms for, you know, the Berkey or for Schwamingen Mountain Bike Festival next year, you could reach out to Dave and Rhonda and say, I want to do it. And then you try to hold those things. Once you get them, you try to hold them each year.
This is going to be a cool place for groups to book up and have everybody stay together and have that community spot together.
Yeah, and maybe even we're doing a little brainstorming about having like a winter fat bike event here or something.
Yeah,
and like
just thinking about events and
maybe try to put together something for the North or Life Above 8 or something like that, where we do something. A base campy, home base, and then a weekend with rides out of.
Right.
Oh yeah, just before we go, we should chat about your gravel pizza.
Sure, we just had our gravel pizza event 1 weekend ago, so that was last weekend. The good part is we hit the colors perfectly. Last year we did the exact same weekend and colors hadn't even started. This year I drove to the starting line and the colors were just brilliant. It was so beautiful. The bad news is the weather was just about worst possible conditions. We got so much rain, so we got very, very wet. A lot of people didn't come at all. Some people biked, went back to their cars, including me and my wife.
How far is the ride to the
46
campground?
miles.
Okay, to the farm?
To the farm, yep. And the gravel was riding very, very slow because of how much water was in it. So we got to the kind of this halfway spot at this bar restaurant. We biked back to our cars. I couldn't feel my fingers. I didn't really want to go 30 more miles, and I wanted to have a car to be able to check in on people in case they were getting stranded. But once we got to Wedges Creek, it was such a magical night. The rain stopped kind of mid-afternoon, and it's this really cool restored barn. So there's an indoor restaurant, indoor bar, there's showers and bathrooms. There was a band playing, massive fire pit right outside these big double doors of the barn. So it's this really cool place to be. It was great. It was great to get dry there, warm up, and then everybody could just kind of share stories from the day, enjoy some pizza and beer for the rest of the night. And then we have a farm breakfast the next morning that everybody comes together for.
At that farm.
At the farm, before riding back, if you didn't have your car there because you got it the day before. So it wasn't The weather was not very great, and but it was a fun time. It was a full adventure weekend, I'll tell you that. It was
And
very.
you're considering, we were talking about this earlier, you're considering changing the event next year, right?
Yeah, I think we're gonna switch it to a base camp style event where we stay at Wedges Creek, which it just has all these great amenities, great community spaces, and then we go on day rides, and it turns more into a gravel camp or a gravel festival. Even non-bikers can come and join you and,
sure.
and take part in the pizza and the fun, and we'll have some different activities.
And you can just have prearranged routes that people can pick and choose from, depending on how
you're
far
not
they want to
locked
ride.
into one distance,
Yeah.
and you can't change it like if you're bike packing.
Or if 46 miles, if you're like one of those people signing up for, the 222-mile race, next weekend in Northfield.
If you want something heavy, we can give you a heavy route.
You can give them a long route in 46 miles, but they want the camping and they want to hang out and the pizza, but they and their friends want to go out and crush a century.
Exactly.
So you'll be able to do that.
That's what's hard with a fixed distance route. 46 to some is like not even a real ride, and to others that's really intimidating. To me, 46 is a pretty long ride.
The other thing that, and I don't know what other amenities are around there, but the other thing that you could try to add if you continue doing this and use the base camp model is sort of like, I'm thinking about this because I went to the salsa ride camp.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
This is one of the last salsa ride camp was held in Sealy that Salsa organized, and that was a similar base camp model with a whole bunch of different, they had guided rides and stuff, but you don't have to do the guided thing. And they had all these different routes and stuff that you could choose from. But the other thing that they had is they had fly fishing. They had a bunch of vendors there, and they had like fly fishing opportunities, and they had pack rafting opportunities. So like if there's fishing in the area or something, you could have bike fishing or something like that, where we're going to ride to a lake. Some of us want to fish. We're going to ride to a lake and go fishing for the afternoon and then ride home.
It opens up a lot of different opportunities, because there is a creek back there. There could be some swimming, maybe there could be fishing, but it opens up different activities.
But even if you have to
ride through the woods, we could do a night ride
30 miles to a different lake somewhere, a pretty lake, and then go fishing and then ride back.
You bet. Right, that's a good idea.
So
stay tuned for more information on that. We'll do some planning and probably make some announcements, probably midwinter, early spring or something.
Hey again, everybody. Unfortunately, it looks like the tail end of the last couple minutes of my interview with Josh got cut off unexpectedly. Not sure what happened. If my camera battery died, I don't think that was it. Maybe I shut it off before it was done recording or something to the card, the internal card. Anyway, we were almost done. We just didn't get to say goodbye as normally would. So anyway, thanks, Josh, for being on the show. Thanks for coming along on another Northwoods Ramble with me, everyone. And stay tuned for more updates on how Josh and I get together with his website, thenorth.com, and his regular updates of the calendar updates with his gravel races and fat bike races. So stay tuned for that. And everybody else will say goodbye to you for now on this Northwoods Ramble. Thanks for coming along, and we will let Hugh Bob take us out with his great song.
God, I missed the North Country, no power lines, no dead ends.